Investigators still do not know where 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie is. Now 11 days since she was suspected to have been kidnapped from her Tucson home. Law enforcement tells 12 News that we can expect to see more activity throughout Pima County as this investigation expands. Thanks so much for joining us for 12 News at 4. I'm Tram Mai.
And I'm Troy Hayden. We have team coverage. We're starting with Gabriella Becerra live outside of Nancy's home. And Gabby, so many different things happened over the last 24 hours. We had somebody detained. We had a new search. We had the video come out. What's happening today?
Well, Troy, Tram, the Pima County Sheriff's Department tells us they've received nearly 18,000 calls about this investigation since Nancy disappeared on February 1st. More than 4,000 of those calls came in the last 24 hours since the FBI shared those newly recovered images from her doorbell camera where we can see a person tampering with it the night she disappeared. So because of that, the FBI is back out here. They're chasing down those leads. We saw them searching the Catalina Foothills neighborhood and Nancy's front yard once again this afternoon. Take a look at this video. We followed along by air and on the ground as they went street by street. The agents broke off into smaller groups looking for anything that might help their investigation. The Catalina Foothills neighborhood has a lot of hills and is covered in desert landscaping, a lot of bushes, cacti, and other plants. And so the agents were paying extra close attention to that brush area, at times moving the plants around to make sure nothing was missed. And I want to show you again the videos recovered from Nancy's doorbell camera. It shows a person dressed in a ski mask, gloves, a hoodie, light-colored pants, and gym clothes walk up to Nancy's front door and attempt to disable the camera. The person tried to block the lens, but we still got a good look at the person who possibly could be involved in her disappearance. The hope is that someone might recognize maybe a piece of clothing, the eyes, or the way this person walks and help law enforcement identify them. And Savannah Guthrie is sharing the FBI's plea for help, saying she believes her mother is still alive. Today we've seen more flowers, candles, and mementos added to a growing memorial outside of Nancy's home. This entire community is continuing to pray for her safe return. And it's been almost a week since the last time we heard from Sheriff Chris Nanos about this investigation. He told us that the next time we would hear from him would be when there was a significant development in this case. Yesterday we saw a person detained and released in connection to this investigation, and still he is denying our requests for interviews and has not yet scheduled a press conference. But as soon as we can get more information out of him, we will share that with you. Troy and Tram.
Gabriella, we're noticing a lot of activity behind you, a lot of vehicles. Can you tell us what's happening?
Small street, a lot of people trying
just
to get.
Perhaps, you know, this area is very congested with a lot of media. Yeah, a lot of media. So I think it's just a little congestion as cars try to get through the neighborhood here.
And that search that you showed us, Gabby, it didn't look like they were looking for, you know, a body, a person. They were looking in little small areas. Are they thinking that some evidence maybe could have flown out of a car or something? I don't understand exactly what they're looking for in that wider search.
Well, the FBI didn't specify exactly what they could be looking for, if they were looking for something that maybe was mentioned in one of those tips or leads, but we know that they're really just searching for anything and everything that might help them find a suspect, find Nancy, anything that can help them really break this case.
It's like a needle in a haystack.
Sure
All right,
is.
Gabriella, thank you.
So the major lead in the last 12 hours or so, the FBI and local authorities they chased involved detaining a man in Rio Rico, which is an hour south of Tucson. A lot of people thought, okay, is this our guy? Do we have him? But then hours later, they let him go.
12 News journalist Sean Rice is in Tucson to explain what he's learning after actually speaking to that man who was placed in handcuffs. Sean, what did he have to say?
Yeah, Tram and Troy, as you mentioned, what many thought and were excited about for people who want to see this case solved as a major break in this investigation, just unfortunately turned out to be a complete dead end, despite that extremely large police presence in the small town of Rio Rico, just about 15 minutes north of our southern border. Now, this morning I traveled to Rio Rico. I chatted with 36-year-old Carlos Palenzuelos. He tells me that he knew he was being followed at about 5 o'clock last night as he was delivering DoorDash just blocks away from his own home in Rio Rico. He voluntarily pulled over. At that point, he was pulled over or questioned by a Marana police officer and also a deputy and investigators with the Pima County Sheriff's Office. They would later be joined by investigators with the FBI. He tells me he was questioned, he was handcuffed, and he was placed in the back of a Pima County Sheriff's vehicle for multiple hours before eventually being released. Now, let's take you to some video we shot last night of exactly what this scene looked like. Carlos tells me this Nissan Rogue here you may be seeing on your screen is his vehicle. It was meticulously inspected, and agents later executed a search warrant on his own home in Rio Rico. They told him they were investigating a kidnapping. Carlos later telling me this morning he never had anything to do with any kidnapping. After investigating both his car and home, he was released a little after midnight. The FBI and Pima County Sheriff's Office have not publicly commented at all on why he was released or what evidence led them to detain him down in Rio Rico. Take a listen to the back and forth I had with Carlos this morning. I learned why he was stopped, or at least what he was told, and what they told him about why they had a search warrant for his home as well. Before this entire situation happened, you didn't know there was a kidnapping. You had no idea.
I didn't know anything.
There's an 84-year-old woman missing up in the Tucson area. There had to maybe been something they told you as to how they got to you. How did they get to the Rio Rico?
An anonymous tip. That's what they said.
Okay. They thought you looked like that person in the video?
That's what they told my mother-in-law. Okay. They showed her a video. Yeah, because they said that my eyes and my eyelashes looked the same.
Carlos, did they give you any search warrant paperwork?
Nah, until the end.
Not until the end?
Yeah, until they finished their investigation.
Did that say anything on it at all?
Just that they needed my phone.
They needed your phone?
That's it.
Okay. So do they have your phone right now?
Yeah.
Do you know what they're doing with it?
They told me that they're investigating it.
Okay.
I don't know how they're going to open it, though.
And as you heard from Carlos right there, the only item the FBI took from his home is his cell phone. He tells me at this time he believes, and doesn't have his phone, so he believes it's still solely in the possession of the FBI. Now, Carlos consistently stated as he was released last night and this morning when we talked to him at about 9 a.m. that he had nothing to do with Nancy Guthrie's disappearance, that he didn't even know before last night that an 84-year-old woman, the mother of an NBC Today Show anchor, was missing or was believed to have been kidnapped from her own home. He did tell me one interesting detail, that he works for a company called GSL. This is, as you think of it, an Amazon or a DSL delivery service, packages to people's homes. When I asked him if he thought maybe he could have delivered a package to Nancy Guthrie's home in the days before she went missing, he told me he believes it's possible, but he just doesn't understand how they would have had any amount of evidence that federal investigators could have brought to a judge that would have allowed that judge to sign off on a search warrant for his own home. He just remains completely dumbfounded as to how he was tracked down in this investigation. I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Sean, and that doesn't make sense. You bring it up. Just the fact that somebody says, hey, this guy's eyes kind of look like somebody, and then you're able to get a warrant off of that. I almost feel like we're missing information here. Is that your feeling, or do you think that's the way it went down?
No, I think this was one of multiple tips that they ran down, and I think they prioritized this tip for some reason because the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department have not publicly commented on why they detained him. I suspect that they had additional evidence that has not been released, or maybe that they didn't voluntarily give to Carlos in their line of questioning to him. I would hope that is the case so that we're not just detaining people in this investigation that have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
No kidding.
That would make more sense.
Sean, thank you.
Thanks, Sean.
For more